boy. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Ramsays post-game show. I'm your host, Danny Marang. I am flying solo tonight because Brandon apparently knew. Good times. I'm not going to nuke this team. So that's not what I'm gonna do here. That's well, you know, that's how it goes. The return of the stream echoes, the echo back again. God dang it. Let's see. Soloed with a double voice. Shouldn't be the case now. Are we good? Huh? I hate this. I hate everything. Let's see what happened here. Everybody's messaging. Yeah, it's echoing. It's like, let's try this, huh? Should we try that? Or should we just go back here? Everything's broken tonight, including me. Are we good? All right. So, everybody's hitting me up everywhere now. Oh, God. All right. Well, that sucked. I mean, it is what it is, and some people don't nuke the team. Don't nuke the team. I'm not. I said I was going to give this 20 games, and there's a particular reason why I'm giving it 20 games and why I didn't get fired up when they beat the living hell out of the Suns. It's way too early. It's way too early to get too high, and it's way too early to get too low. That was really bad, though. I don't know if everybody went out and had a little bit of fun in LA. I will say this: there is a certain intersection right now of teams going into Los Angeles or out of Los Angeles in the past 72 hours and having really crappy games with days off. I'm not saying it's a straight line to draw, but I'm not saying it either. Happy birthday to Travis Demers, who turned 40 years old. He's officially old and washed, but he does a great job on the radio broadcast, and that's the homie. So, I see everybody pointing out 30 turnovers. Somebody asked me what was the most turnovers they had under Terry Stotts, and I said 28, and then I think it was 30 seconds later that they had 29. I was like, well, they officially crossed that plateau, and that's not a Chauncey thing entirely. They're maybe the influence of trying to do things differently, but I also look at that and go, you're NBA players, you know how to take care of the ball. Like, even with increased ball movement, that's too much. That's just way too many. There's been a couple of those games already this season. Not just by Portland, just in general. God, I can't remember who it was. Was it Minnesota? Somebody else had 30-something turnovers the other night. It was pretty incredible. As Andrew Baird points out here, 30 turnovers and 32 made buckets. Holy crap, that's bad. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, here, let me break down this bit of film. Oh, hey, let me take a look at this guy. This guy was good. That guy was bad. This is mostly hey, let's come here and have a little bit of fun. If there's one thing I learned from doing Outsiders over the years is no one wants to immediately after the game go, hey, let's dive into the tape and see how really bad they were. It's not fun. Let me know how you guys are feeling here in the comments. A lot of questions about Dame, which we'll kind of talk grand scheme about. We'll definitely talk about Nurk, because that was not great. Screw it. We'll start with Dame, because I had a lot of people message me and ask me kind of what's going on, or is something going on? Is everything okay? And as we're seeing here in the comments right now, Dame got his power stolen via Space Jam. That's a pretty logical conclusion, I think, at this point. I do think that he's not right. He definitely doesn't have lift. He doesn't have explosion. He just doesn't look right. On threes, he's leaving stuff short. Dame doesn't leave anything short. I mentioned it on Twitter. He's an incredibly strong dude, wildly strong. I watched him for years warm up where he just flicks his wrist and pulls from 35. He's wincing on 25-footers. He tried to pack that on Hartenstein tonight, and no foul, anything like that. It didn't look like he had a snowball's chance in hell of clearing Hartenstein. It was like he tried to will himself over, and it wasn't right. And we've seen Dame start like this almost every year, where he's dealing with that abdominal thing. It just doesn't quite look right. But this time I think he might be in a little bit of trouble because, number one, he's older. Number two, he played all summer on a shortened season, on top of a shortened season. If this continues, if he continues to look like this, where not necessarily decision-making or anything like that, but just his lack of lift, his lack of, like, holy crap explosion, which we've, associated with Damian Lillard, he's not washed. So it leads me to believe he's not doing great physically. Jusuf Nurkic, he looked awful. One of his worst games, maybe ever. Not kidding, with the Trailblazers. I hate using this word because it has so many, like, other connotations to it, but he looked lazy. And I hate using that word. But he looked lazy. He was late on pretty much everything. He was showing guys down the middle. The Blazers guards did a horrible job of stepping over screens and actually, like, delaying at all, which made things even worse. Reed said Nurk looked like he was playing with oven mitts. Yeah, the offensive side, he looked like a greased turkey. Like he had just hands crossed up. Everything was bad. Everything Nurk did was bad tonight. I don't like using that many, like, generalizations, but it was significantly one of his worst games I've ever seen. He had a couple nice passes early on. He had the little drop pass over the top of the back cut, and I was like, oh, okay, that's nice. And that was really early in the game before things got totally sideways. It was just rough, man. It was really, 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 really rough. How many shots did he end up getting up? 6? 6 shots? 6 turnovers? Yeah. That's when your shot to turnover ratio is 1. That's a problem. That's a major, major problem. 8 of 37 from 3. We talked about this after the Suns game the other night, in that the best potpourri is shot making, baby. You knock down a truckload of threes in the first half and you take good care of the ball. The other stuff looks pretty less crappy. You don't do that, and things look like they did in the first game, and all of a sudden that shot making doesn't all of a sudden, everything's good. And this is why, again, I'm not making any judgments, because realistically, they played okay against the Suns, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Everybody's going off. Greg Brown dunking, CJ Ellaby dunking, Nas dunking, everybody dunking. It was great. But when I watched back that tape, it was like, there's still quite a few things to work on. So, and I didn't expect it to be like a ready-made product right now, but I thought people were, it's so much easier to go, it was all Stotts. It was all Stotts than it is to go, it still doesn't look great. But what did look great, and you guys showed up for, we'll get more into the games here in a second, but I thought let's have some fun tonight. I asked you guys to send me your best headlines for tomorrow, and you guys did not disappoint. There were some good ones. There were some that I can't say on air just because, I can, but then I have to go, deal with the rating stuff on the stream. And listen, I love it. I laughed. It was fun. But come on, guys. I'm kidding. Thank you for being wildly toxic. I'm dead serious. It made me laugh because I get the same way sometimes. It's like, let's have some fun. So let me get to those here real quick. There were 62 replies. PM, shout out PM. Boldo assumed this effort warrants a headline. That's certainly one way to go. Curtis Long, the principal, shout out Principal Long. Horrendous scoring output leaves Blazers 86th by the Clippers, which I absolutely stole for the Blazers Edge tag before I created this. So shout out the principal. Let's see. Post-game breaking news, Blazers hire new on-air talent Neil Everett. I joked tonight that I was going to spend most of the show talking about Neil Everett, which, listen, if we're going to talk about fun stuff, Neil Everett doing the pregame and the halftime, like, it made me legitimately giddy. It was fun. It brought me back to SportsCenter days, and just hearing his voice as I was getting everything ready, it was really cool. So, in a crappy night, that was fun. Rob Mack at RobMack82. Blazers ruined Travis Demur's birthday. How dare they? How dare they? Scrappy Mud at Scrappy Mud. Not a product of the roster. Adam at Dis Giesler. Blazers lose the trail in LA. Messed around and got clipped. Janelle Boyer. Dame Light savings time is not saving the Blazers this time, or is Dame time. Shout out Jake Stevens 35 for a very to the point headline for tomorrow. I don't know if this pertains to one Jake or all Jakes, but Jake has lost a shit ton of money on the Blazers this season. Not catchy or punny, but damn it, I'm sad. And listen, to everybody out there who took gambling advice from me today on to take the over, no legal recourse. Sorry. Reed, hey, listen, Reed, this is a good one. I'm going to give that like real quick. Reed at Reed P&W. Dame Chiller, the captain, still ice cold from 3. Joe Fisher at Joe Fish 3. Clippers cash in on broke Dame Dalla and Blazers. God, we're getting a little vicious. Evan M, shout out Evan M. If you haven't, go check out him on Twitter at Evan M PDX for all your Blazers and actually NBA related. He's got some non-NBA. He's got a Griffey print too that I need to get for the studio when it's done. This is good. No chance. Blazers are routed by the Clippers in La La Land. I like the no chance play on words there. That one's pretty good. Shout out Adrian Bernasich of Blazers Edge. It's not a product of the roster. Got a lot of that tonight. Let's see. Blazers fail to bifurcate, cut down by Clippers. Blazers get canned by Kennard. Also, the principal had another great one in here that was, what was it? I think I was going to steal that one too. Something along the lines of Blazers kicked in the Kennards, I think is what it was. It was a tough one. Terry Stotts loving retirement wins lottery from Adamantium. Trailblazers and Chauncey Billups create a beautiful, in quotes, night. Clippers shave Blazers bald. Same roster, same results. Rob Mack at Rob Mack 82. We can still go 80-2. Diabetes at Diabetes. Former offensive guru Terry Stotts takes in defensive gem from New Look Blazers in Los Angeles. And, of course, he has the picture of Terry at the Timbers game the other night. Blazers fans, the Neil Olshey, and it's the gif of Samuel L. Jackson staring. Triple servers at Eric J. Also. Broken clock, right? 8% of the time. I'm like freaking Will Ferrell up here right now. You put it on the teleprompter, I'm going to read it. Shout out at Mike Acker with just a simple fuck it. Also, there's a great reply there from Chalupa Dad. That's actually Jusuf Nurkic's quote from tonight. Yikes! Oh man, there are a lot of these. You guys did great. I mean, these are fire stots ? Roster limitations for 116. Bancotter Whip City laid to rest by winless, no good Clippers. Kenny Bender clip show exposes Blazers shit show. Chalupa Dad come in with another fiery one. Blazers found themselves lost as the Donner Party in California. Keep it up, guys. Keep it up. These were good. And honestly, man, this is what you got to do because they got their asses handed to them tonight. There's no way about it, and this is why you can't sit here and evaluate stuff. Not these tweets. The tweets were great. I'm evaluating them right now. You guys, 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. Round of applause for you guys. You guys did fantastic. When you get too low in the first game and then you get too high in the second game, I'm going to say it, you get clipped in the third game, there's just nowhere to really balance it all out. You just got to kind of take some of this and figure it out and just ride with it for a little bit. Listen, if they get to 25 games in and they're still having a 30-point win here, a 30-point slacking there, well, then maybe you can go, yeah, we got to take a bigger look at this. But I think right now you just kind of have to take the good with the bad. Last game was good, man. Last game was really good. It was a lot of fun. There were some flaws in it, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. Tonight, you just got to take joy in the sadness. Speaking of taking joy in the sadness, thank you, everybody, for coming in here. If you haven't already, please subscribe here on YouTube. If you're sitting on the toilet, just slide that thumb over, subscribe. If you're feeling real spicy, click the bell. That way you know when we go live, because sometimes I go 5 minutes after, sometimes I go 10 minutes after, sometimes I go 2 minutes after. But that way you know when we come on. And if you're looking for the podcast, remember, if you're watching now, if you miss one at any time, I take these, I load them up, I put them in the podcast player, so you guys have got them first thing in the morning. You can take it on your podcast. Search Jack Ramsays for across any of your podcast platforms. You'll find us there. And again, if you're feeling really, really cool, leave us a review. Or tonight, in this case, leave me a review, because I'm flying without Brandon because he's a coward. That's right, Brandon. You're a coward. You didn't want to face this ass whooping like a man. How dare you? How dare you prioritize sleep and mental well-being over this absolute thrashing? Leslie, so the pattern continues. We'll dominate Memphis. I think that's probably what we'll end up doing is get more geared up for Memphis, because the Memphis game, Ja looks really good. For anybody who doesn't know, I am a massive, massive, massive Ja fan. So I love seeing him play like this. And the idea of the Blazers trying to contain Ja Morant with what I have seen in the first 3 games terrifies the ever-living hell out of me. They do not like that they're prepared for arguably the most explosive guard in the league right now. Yikes. Yikes, 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 yikes. Gabe Lauderdale, did the Blazers win? Hey, guys, everybody fill in Gabe. Fill in Gabe if you're here in the chat. We already, kind of dunked on Dame, but I think we can kind of squint at that and go, I'm going to give Dame a wee bit of a pass. Nurk, nope, no passes. Do not pass go. Do not collect your new contract with the way you're playing. Yikes. Cove, buddy, pal. That was one of Cove's worst games as a Blazer. He had one last season where it looked like he was violently contesting playing basketball, and it was, whoa, okay, it was. I got to look it up, but I remember Joe and I sitting there talking about it. It was late in the fourth quarter. Like, do we even talk about this? Like, do we talk about how bad Cove was? Because this is like a, multiverse Covington, where like somebody stole his ability to walk. But he was bad. He was really, really bad tonight. There was 3 different possessions. How many turnovers did he end up with? Was it 4? Yeah. He had 3, I think, on passes, and they were all because he hesitated. He stopped. I think it was more one of those situations where he was looking at it. How many shots did he end with? Yeah, 3. I think it was one of those situations. And I want to say it was Mike Richmond, Locked On Blazers host, who said sometimes Cove just he's going to shoot no matter what when he gets the ball, and I think he tried to kind of break some of that habit, because he caught the ball and it was like, and he saw it out of the corner of his eye, looked over and was like, I need to make the skip pass here. And he did, but it was 2 seconds too late, and the entire Clippers defense was between him and the guy he was trying to pass to. And turnovers. So yeah, he was really late, which is honestly goes against how he typically plays. He's usually on the beat. He was operating with a different set of sheet music tonight. It was tough. It was tough. Kaylee, tonight's broadcast was wild. The game or Kevin Lamar? Because I thought Kevin Lamar were kind of lit, especially when they brought out the whale footage. Listen, man, knowing when to absolutely bail on a game in a broadcast is a talent. Just stop talking about what's going on the floor and go talk about sticking dynamite in a whale on a beach. Like that was very, 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 very on brand. That was great. It was perfect timing. That's how you do it. That is professional broadcasting right there. Well done by the guys tonight, because you gotta have fun. It's not a shortened season anymore. It's 82 games. We got 79 more of these things. If you get too deep in the trenches right now, it is gonna be a long year, folks. If there's one thing that I learned from doing the show, it was that doing pregame, doing postgame, if you get sucked into stuff real early, one way or the other, good, bad, the others, doesn't mean you can't enjoy it, doesn't mean you can't hate it, but if you latch into it in like every single thing, it'll wear you out. It'll wear you out. So, positives, we've spent the first 22 minutes, right? 22 minutes talking about, holy crap, that sucked. Positives to take from this game. Nas, Ant, Greg Brown got in and caused some ruckus. Cody Zeller left the game alive. That's a positive. That man is not going to make it to the All-Star break. He is... It's just... yeah, that poor guy. He got his nose absolutely collapsed and by Andre Iguodala. And then he probably had like, what, 3 stitches tonight? I thought, but it looked like a 3-stitcher. As somebody who's got, I think I've got like 600 stitches in my head and face, which, I mean, I pulled this off pretty good for having that many stitches. Yeah, Zeller's not dead. That's the positive from tonight. Another positive is it's over. Kaylee asks, can't get worse than this, or can it get worse than this? Because it can. Oh, it can. I've seen worse basketball than what we saw tonight. If you really want to go watch it, if you are a glutton for punishment, go watch the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are objectively trash. It is bad, and it sucks because they're going to end up sitting Shea because they want the ping pong balls, because they have so many picks, because the draft matters so much, and it's going to end up costing Shea some accolades. But back to the Blazers and how much they suck tonight. Yeah, Ant, the three-point shooting wasn't there, and the assists weren't there, mostly because nobody was hitting anything. What's kind of crazy is I thought Ant ended up with the second most shots tonight. I guess we can all just chalk this one up to the Blazers didn't have Norman Powell. That's why they lost. It's something. And Dylan Stanton, this is something I'm closely monitoring as far as trends. Our bench plays better as a unit than our starters, but my judgment could be wrong. I don't think you're wrong, but I don't think you're right necessarily. It's one of those things, like I said, I'm watching it. It's something about the vibes just doesn't quite track. I have a theory, and I think it's, when we talked about this coming into the season, and this is why I wondered what and how this was going to play out. The Blazers, Chauncey, Neal, the collective leadership council told Nas he was going to get more shots and more attention. Ant, he was going to get more shots and more attention. Norm, he was going to get more shots and more attention. Nurkic, more shots and more attention. You can't do that when you get rid of Melo and Cantor. There's just not enough. So who is going to give that up? The resident and prevailing theory was CJ McCollum. And CJ McCollum has spent 3 games saying, F you, these are my shots. Dame, I think, is trying to smooth the waters a little bit and be a distributor. Problem is, you take Norm out of the starting lineup, you lose a bit of shot creation, some reliance. Nurk plays like absolute dog water. Cove, I don't know. Maybe he got some bad sushi. Like it's LA. I mean, you got to be careful where you're going. But if you don't have guys out there hitting shots, you can't set the table for anybody. And Dame, like we talked about, just doesn't look right. Physically, he does not look right. So the bench, if somebody in here said something in the comments as far as what I had talked about pregame, as far as the vibes with the bench. And I think Nas is a part of that because he's defined roles, right? Last year's bench defined role was your turn, my turn. It was Melo, Cantor, and Ant was kind of forced to say, here's the ball, I don't get to have this. But now, Nas gets to eat a little bit with the bench unit. Ant gets to kind of set the table and take some guys on. Larry just wants to kind of keep things going and play basketball the right way. And Cody Zeller just likes to Hulk smash people on screens. So vibes-wise, it comes together. It makes a ton more sense. That starting lineup doesn't make a ton of sense right now because of where I think guys are trying to figure out the pecking order. And I'll say it plainly. I don't think Dame is entirely healthy. I think CJ is hearing some of the noise. Nurk and his contract and his current status and what he sees himself and the pressure that he's putting on himself seems to be problematic. And Cove just doesn't seem like he's right. Like, he hasn't looked 100% really. He knocked down some shots against Phoenix, played a little bit better defensively, but games 1 and games 3, defensively, he was a little sloppy. Wasn't quite where he needed to be. Kind of unfortunate because I love Cove. Kevin Cohen, there was zero heart, and how can one coach this game without yelling at the starters for this BS performance? So something I've noticed about Chauncey, he is a sitter, and he's not a yeller. And in talking to some of the guys, Chauncey's pretty level-headed, unshakable. I think that's kind of a good thing. And for the most part, Terry was as well. I think most coaches in the NBA, this has kind of been something that I've asked about over the last couple of years. There's not a lot of yellers left in the NBA. Yeah, you got Pop. Yeah, you got Rick Carlisle. Bud mostly looks like a cat pooped in his coffee more often than not. Steve Nash has not yelled at anybody since he stopped playing basketball. He mostly just plays soccer or talks about how James Harden is being held back by a hamstring injury. Vogel can yell if LeBron lets him. Ty Lue's not really a yeller. I think Doc lost his voice sometime in April. Ime's not really a yeller. You just look around the league, there's not a ton of yellers left anymore. It's just because you can't really coach like that anymore. You have to be kind of an old head, and there's just not a ton of old heads left. So I don't think, barring a complete holy crap meltdown type of possession or call, I don't think you're going to see Chauncey really lose his mind. I am interested to see what is going to get him teed up. Marcus like Tibbs. Tibbs is a good one, but Tibbs is also is an OG. I think he kind of fits in that one too, but Tibbs will also scream himself out of a voice. So, give or take. But again, there's not a ton of those guys left. I saw somebody say Steve Kerr. I think Kerr just does it because sometimes he likes to. That's kind of how it goes. We talked about Ant a little bit. Got some good looks tonight. Didn't get the assists. I thought he played an okay game. I will say it is nice to see him get 3 games in a row where clear pecking order, getting feet in the paint, knocking down shots. Defensively, I actually liked what I saw from Ant tonight. And there was a couple possessions from Dame, and this is like I got to duck while I do this. I saw a couple defensive possessions from Dame tonight where there was one in particular where he ducked in on the rotation and cut off the drive and catch at the rim. It got kicked back out to the right wing and then recycled over to the left wing on the X out, and Dame closed out on Paul George on the shot and got a really good contest. It's probably one of Dame's best possessions defensively this season. So there's a couple things there from Ant and Dame defensively. For the most part, defensive effort was crap. Execution was really bad. Point of attack defense was a turnstile. Nurk was. Let's go ahead and put line this up. Dame and CJ were turnstiles above the break from the 3-point line. Nurk was the usher leading them to their seats. And you had Cove on one side like popcorn, get your popcorn, as guys were just going to freely get to shots. I think that was pretty much how the game went. I thought Nas brought energy. I thought he was a little wild at times, but nothing crazy. I'm not going to roast Nas. That's for damn sure. The guy who actually trying is definitely one of those ones where you're not going to kill him. That's fine. Eric Vendel, Chauncey going to need to load up on Google Maps for all the addresses. Yeah, no, he's got to get those pre-licked stamps, the sticky ones already, because otherwise, man, he's going to get that dry tongue. You ever had to lick like 20 stamps? It is a miserable. You're just like, it's, oh God, I'm sure that's going to play back really well on the podcast. Sorry for that. But it's miserable, downright miserable. Quinn better. It felt like Nurkic was like intentionally giving up points at times. Yeah, no, he's not quite point shaving, but it felt like it. Felt like it because offensively, man, he couldn't hold on to the ball at all. Defensively, like I said, he was, the usher at Staples, escorting guys to their seats. Excuse me, sir, can I see your ticket? Yes, 1A at the rim? Yes, right this way, good sir. I'm not reading that out loud, Reed. But overall, man, it is what it is. And it's just one game. I've reached that point of it's tough. James Chauncey's going to need a couple extra pens for note-taking. First pens are running dry. Malls, how many more games do you think Nurk gets the ball in his hands if this continues? What game do they do it about face? It's a really good question. So Brandon and I think, have run somewhere between 12 and 15. So there's if you try to keep along with me if you know what a Gantt chart is. If you don't, be thankful you don't work in the production or manufacturing sector because you have to erase them all the time. But think of these bars stacked vertically that you can adjust with different timelines on them. So you've got the season-long bar, 82 games, and you've got another bar below it that's 20 games. And 20 games is the Chauncey measuring stick. But underneath that bar is 12 to 15 games, and that's the Nurkic measuring stick. And then there's a 15-game one for incorporating Nance and Zeller. And then there's a 25-game bar for does Norm deserve these shots? Does CJ and does it make sense to go back to Dame and CJ? So you've got all these different goals and objectives in the first quarter of the season that you're trying to determine. And I think Nurk's honestly is the shortest because of what they'll need to do. They need to figure it out right away because if things don't work out, and I know some people are like, there's no way they'd ever trade Jusuf Nurkic. Cool, we disagree. If they don't have it figured out by the time they get into Christmas, late December, early January, they'll start shopping him. I'd be willing to bet that they would start shopping him. I'm not saying he's going to fall apart. I think he can be significantly better than what he showed tonight, but I do think his role needs to be kind of the role that he had with Terry. If you want to get him a little more involved, fine. But in a contract year, with so many things up in the air, with $12 million committed to Dame, CJ, and Norm, they've got to figure stuff out. Otherwise, and I never believed that Dame would leave mid-year. But I think everything, and I mean everything, is up for evaluation after the year. Dame, CJ, Norm, everybody. Or Nurk and Covington at the trade deadline. So, and again, I'm not saying that there's like a scare tag. Oh my God, they need to blow it up. I mean, they do need to blow it up a little bit, right? Dylan Stan, I think Nurk would get traded before CJ if they want to go that route. I do too. It's easier to do, and it's also it doesn't make it. It's not Neil admitting that he had it wrong, that the Dame CJ backcourt isn't working. It's kind of how it goes, and Nibble kind of highlights it here. Nurk wasn't drafted by Neil O'Shea. Yeah, there's a part of that to it. I'll push back on that one, Kevin Cohen. Besides the occasional good screen, Nurk is not good at basketball, especially not a starting five in the NBA. I think he can be a starting five in the NBA. I don't doubt that. But how good of a starting five and how much he should be paid and how and where he fits into a team, I think those are all fair questions to ask. Overall, I'm going to take this game film and burn it. And then take the ashes of the game film, stuff it in a rocket, shoot it into the sun, then fire as many nuclear missiles at the sun to supercharge the core of the sun, and make sure that no remnants of that game film ever exist because it was really bad. And then I'm going to look towards Memphis, and there's probably a 50-50 chance I'm going to go to that game, get my media pass, and go see John in person and test the knee out and see if I can handle the stairs. But part of me is sitting here thinking, do I want to walk up that many stairs and watch this team get their ass kicked? Questions. Decisions must be made. I got to submit it here in a couple hours, so I got to figure it out pretty quick. But the Memphis Grizzlies are going to pose a lot of problems. Like I said, I'm just kind of moving on from this game because there's just nothing viable to take from this game other than, hey, if you don't care, you're going to get throttled. So it is what it is in that regard. Overall, weird start. A meh game against the Kings where I think they probably thought they could walk through it because it's the Kangs. Then the Suns, I think, came out after expending a ton of energy against the Lakers, and that was really what mattered to them, was to beat the crap out of the Lakers, and they mission accomplished. Go to Portland, whatever, take it for granted, and then get absolutely humbled. And then the Blazers maybe got a little too high on their own supply. Went down to L.A., had some good food, got out in the sun. Well, they didn't get in the sun because the weather sucks right now. But then they got out and went, yeah, we're going to get absolutely hammered. But here's grand scheme. Take a step back from the Western Conference. I don't think anybody's going to run away with this. Tonight, the Denver Nuggets got embarrassed by the Cleveland Cavaliers. I had them on second screen for a little while. I turned that off because, I mean, well, it was kind of fun to watch the Nuggets get just worked. Also, Evan Mobley is an absolute stud. If you haven't watched him, it's going to be fun. Shout out USC. Fight on. But yeah, I think this Grizzlies game is going to be a really unique game because they're going to present problems that Portland is not going to face on a regular basis, which is hyper athletic point guard in Ja Morant, and a stretch-ish, super athletic, super springy, kind of unique big in Jaren Jackson Jr. D'Anthony Melton, Desmond Bane, those guys are sitting in really good. But you look at this West, to kind of get back to this whole point, the Western Conference. Listen, folks, Denver, Dallas, both LA teams, the Warriors, the Grizzlies, the Timberwolves, the Kings, the Jazz, the Suns. Who's bad? Thunder and Rockets? Thunder and Rockets are bad. Like, they're bad. But the Rockets will be fun. I don't know if the Thunder will be fun because I don't know if they'll play their guys that are super fun a ton. They'll probably cut, like I said, Shea and Giddey's minutes down. The Spurs, they're in a weird purgatory. But yeah, it's going to be weird. And I think that how health and how teams come together and how that all kind of shakes out is going to be one of the more interesting storylines this year. Blazers already kind of picking up some nicks. We don't know what the timeline is on Norman Powell, so this may be the new norm. God, I just did it on my own. That's pretty awful. The new norm is Nasir Little starting at small forward, but not old Norm because he's just on the shelf for a little while. Hopefully it's under a couple weeks. If I had to peg it, I'd probably put it at 3 weeks. From what I know about that kind of injury, let's go with that. But yeah, we'll come back and forecast at that. Unfortunately, the Blazers are coming off a loss. Fortunately, I get to talk to a Blazer about this tomorrow. I might post it tomorrow. I'll probably post it tomorrow, to be honest, just because it's a one-off day before we get another game. Nasir Little will be joining Jacked Ramsays tomorrow afternoon after practice. Like I said, Mike Richmond stole him before me, but I'll allow it to happen since Mike is also a Tar Heel, and that's kind of how it goes. But I've got some questions already for Nas, and one of the things I'm going to ask him about is defensively, what's it like to go from the bench, going to be a starter, and a couple of things, particularly as it pertains to the scouting report, just kind of give everybody an insight of what an NBA scouting report really looks like. I think it's going to be really fun. We've had Nas on a couple different times, and Nas is a great interview. He's really open and forthcoming with how he thinks and how he goes about things, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm recording with him tomorrow afternoon. Look for it to drop probably tomorrow night, and then we'll have the pregame show for the Grizzlies game. Might do it a little bit earlier depending on whether or not I'm at the game or not. And then if the post-game show, I'll probably do it a little bit later if I'm at the game because the drive from Portland to Newburgh is going to be hell. But I'll figure that out on the backside. That's a first world problem to have when you're covering the game. Or I'll figure out a way to do it from there. I'm gonna have to get the inside scoop on whether or not the Wi-Fi will be able to contain the stream there. Little iffy on that, but we'll see. But then Thursday we will have the live show. So we'll have a couple of games to talk to, and I'll talk to Brandon about getting the player ratings. I will do a weekly, so after the Grizzlies game, I will send out in some form on Twitter a weekly roundup for you guys to grade the players that have played, and I will kind of group it all together. And I will keep a weekly tally for all the fans and supporters, and then I will keep a game-by-game tally of Brandon and I, and we'll kind of see, just kind of fun, where everybody slots in, how people think guys are doing, how I think they're doing, how Brandon thinks they're doing, and where we're kind of valuing things one way or another. That's just kind of how it goes. But again, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. If you haven't already, please subscribe here to the show. Subscribe to the podcast. Like, rate, review, do all the things. You can follow Brandon on social at Brandon Sprague. You can follow me at Danny Marang. You can follow the show on social media at Jacked Ramsays. I'm going to wrap it up here because, well, I'm 42 minutes in, and I'm just not going to talk about this game anymore. I'm just not going to do it. Let's have some fun. I only got so much energy for whatever that was. I'm not going to put more energy in there for you. Okay, Reed, you got one more headline. You got to give it to me before we go real quick. Give me your headline. You had one good one, so I will hang out here and I will give you a second to catch back up and give me that headline. It better be good because I'm stalling right here and dragging out will be the podcast, and it's got to land, buddy. But yeah, it's fun. Matt Helvey, I'm loving this up and down. They're both good and bad. Yeah, no, I don't want this. I don't want this at all. I do not want them to vacillate between both those. All right, Reed. Blazers open bakery in L.A. 30 turnovers passed out in L.A. Okay, it's decent. You've got a little something there, but I think the in L.A. twice kind of derails it. You gotta get the syntax just right. But I'm good with that. 30 turnovers passed out. 30 turnovers handed out. I don't know. Anyways. Thank you guys so very much. These are going to be fun to do no matter what, win, lose, or draw. I love coming in here and talking to you guys, talking to Brandon. I've got some guests lined up for the next couple weeks. The Pacers game, I've got Caitlin Cooper. Obviously, I'll have Sean Hyken come through. Joe Simons will come through. I'm trying to get Richmond to come through. We're trying to figure out schedules and see the road probably works best. Same with Ben Gulliver, as well as Eric Gunderson. Just trying to get everybody else in there. I want to bring in some local, some national, some local market people from outside of Portland and the teams that they cover. So, yeah, look forward to that. So like I said, I'll have Nas tomorrow. Hopefully I'll drop that tomorrow night. If not, it'll be there first thing Wednesday morning before we get ready to take on, or excuse me, we get ready to do the pregame show for the Grizzlies. Until then, everybody, thank you all so very much. You know how it goes. Till then, bye.